Hello guys, Fish767 here. So today we're taking a look at Reaper King, a deck around him. It's Scarecrow Tribal, well, for the most part. And we're doing a pretty fun thing on it. So the deck is $126 the last time I checked it. This particular deck, so it's a little bit expensive. You don't have to build this exact version, just I was hoping to get you some ideas based around this deck, and at the end of the video we'll go over some alternate cards that you can put in. Because I had a stack that was give or take that thick. You know, it was taller than the deck of other cards that I wanted to put in. So anyway, we'll get on with this. So our commander is Reaper King. He's a legendary Scarecrow creature, artifact creature. He costs 2 or a white, 2 or a blue, 2 or a black, 2 or a red, and 2 or a green to cast. His CMC is 10, technically. And he's a 6/6. He says other Scarecrow creatures you control get +1/+1. And whenever another Scarecrow enters the battlefield under your control, you destroy target permanent. And that includes lands. And that's what we're going to be doing. So he's really fun. So let's get into the ramp. We run a lot of it. We have Rakdos Signet, Orzhov Signet. We do have a couple of land cards that ramp. We have Blighted Woodland, which we can pay for, tap it, sack it to grab 2 basic lands and put them into play. And we have Maze's End, which ETB's tapped. We can pay 3, tap it, return it to its owner's hand, and search for a gate card. And then put that gate onto the battlefield, and then if you control 10 or more gates with different names, you win the game. We run 11 gates in total, so this is just a nice win con, because our mana base is pretty bad, so having a win con in the mana base is nice. Then we have Rakdos Cluestone, Boros Signet, Golgari Signet, Dimir Signet, Selesnya Cluestone, Izzet Signet, Soul Ring, Selesnya Signet, and Talisman of Creativity. So that's a lot of ramp, but if you can get some of the talismans, you might take out like the Selesnya stuff and just run the talismans if you can get ones that tap for blue mana, because that's what we need the most of in this deck. So now we're on to our Scarecrows. A lot of them are shapeshifters because most of the Scarecrows aren't good. There are a couple good Scarecrows and then the rest are just trash. And I don't even have most of the good Scarecrows, so I'm just running what I got. So we have Unsealed Mariner. It's a 2/2 changeling for for a white and a blue. So changeling means that it has all creature types. And it says whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or an ability, an opponent controls, you counter it unless they pay 1, so that's great. Metallic Mimic, when it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. It is the chosen type in addition to its other types, and each other creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. It's a 2-drop 2/1 artifact, so it's pretty nice. We have Grim Poppet. It's a 7-drop 4/4 Scarecrow. It comes into play with 3 neg1/neg1 counters on it, and you can remove a neg1/neg1 counter from it to put a neg1/neg1 counter on another creature. So the great thing is this is like a free ability. Here, let me see. We got glare from my fan. I got my fan on. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, I think it's a little bit better there. But the nice thing about this is you can do it at instant speed, and we play a lot of flicker. So we're going to flicker it after we remove the counters, and it'll come back in with more counters, and we can just kill a bunch of stuff. Then we have Venomous Changeling. It has Changeling Death Touch. It's a 3-drop 1/3. Tyrian Mauler, a 3-drop 2/2 Changeling. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on it, so it gets big fast. Then we have Altered Ego. It can't be countered. It costs X, 2, white, and blue. And it's a 0/0. You may have it enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it enters with X additional +1/+1 counters on it. So we're going to pick one of our Scarecrows, probably, and then it'll just be a bigger Scarecrow. Mirror Image, it enters as a copy of any creature you control. It's 3-drop 0/0. Scuttlemutt is one of our good Scarecrows. It's a 3-drop 2/2. It taps for a mana of any color, and then you can tap it to have target creature become the color of or colors of your choice until the end of the turn. So we can get around protection with that, and that's really nice. Then we have Vizier of Many Faces. You may have it enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except if it was embalmed. Then the token has no mana cost, it's white, and it's a zombie in addition to its other types. And it has embalmed for 5. Then we have Changeling Outcast, 1-drop Changeling. It can't block or be blocked, it's a 1/1. Then we have Windgrottle Scarecrow, 3-drop 2/2. It has Flying as long as you control a blue creature, and Persist as long as you control a black creature. And that means when it dies, it comes back with a neg1/neg1 counter, and we can blow up another thing. So that's wonderful. Morophon is one of the best changelings out there, if not the best. And so we run it. It's a 7-drop 6/6 changeling. It enters when it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. And then spells you cast of the chosen type cost Wooburg less to cast, and it only reduces the amount of colored mana you pay. And other creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. So we can get more fun down. Reaper King costs 0, at least the first time. And that's really good. Then we have Ghostly Changeling. It's 3-drop 2/2 Changeling. Pay 1 and a black and it gets +1/+1 until the end of the turn. Spark Double. It's a 4-drop 0/0. You may have it enter as a copy of any creature or planeswalker you control, except it enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it if it was a creature, or an additional loyalty counter on it if it was a planeswalker, and it's not legendary if that permanent was legendary. So you can copy Reaper King and then have one stick, and that's what we're going to do with it if we can. Body Double, it enters as a copy of any creature card in a graveyard. It doesn't have to be yours. We have One-Eyed Scarecrow. It's a 2/3 defender. Creatures with flying your opponent's control get -1, -0, which is fun. Then we have Tatterkite. Hold on, you can't really see that very well. Things are kind of blurry, I've noticed. I don't know what it is. I hope that it fixes it sometime soon, but it doesn't seem to be wanting to. Oh well, I'll just read them. So Tatterkite flying, it can't have counters placed on it. It's a 2/1, which is really nice because if we have like persist, we can keep on persisting it. Or if we have undying, we can keep on undying it, and it doesn't matter. Then we have Changeling Berserker. It's a 4-drop 5/3 Changeling. It has haste and champion a creature. When it comes into play, you sacrifice it unless you remove another creature you control from the game. When this leaves play, that card returns to play. So we can do some fun stuff around this Changeling Berserker. And there's a few other ones. There's a green one that does the same thing, and there's a white one, and the white one is Changeling Hero, I believe. So I think it's Changeling Titan and Changeling Hero, or the other two. I'm not 100% sure. But what you can do is if you can get 3 of them that champion each other, well, you can go infinite, and that's why we run so many clones. So if we can clone this guy, we'll have 3. Hold on. We'll have 3. And so one will come down, and it'll exile this guy that's on the field, and he'll have something exiled under him, so that'll come back, and it'll trigger a Reaper King, allowing us to blow up a permanent, because it'll probably have been a Scarecrow. Then we'll cast another one to get rid of this one, which is going to make this guy come back, and he's a Changeling, so it's a Scarecrow, so we blow something up. And then, when this guy comes back, we get rid of this one because of the champion, and when we get rid of this one, this guy comes back, and when this guy comes back, we're going to copy the Changeling Berserker, which is a Changeling, so we get to blow something up, and it goes infinite. And we blow up infinite things. And we got some other ways to do it, I'll show you when we get there. Okay, we got to get to these somehow, so here's our card draw. We have Soul of the Harvest, 6-drop, 6/6 Trample. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. So it synergizes with our Blink and some of our combos really well. And then it's card draw, and it's a Trample 6/6, which is really nice. So we love it. Beast Whisperer, 4-drop 2/3. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. If you have True Lane, it could go in instead of one of these guys. It would be really good, but I don't have a True Lane, so Primordial Sage would probably be the best substitute since it's objectively worse than True Lane, but Beast Whisperer costs less, so that's what you keep, in my opinion. And then Primordial Sage is a 6-drop. Whenever you play a creature spell, you may draw a card, and it's a 4/5. So we don't really, those are a draw, we don't care about them too much as for the rest of the game plan. Then we have Compulsive Research, pay 3, target player draws 3 cards, then that player discards 2 unless he or she discards a land card. Chemist's Insight, 4-drop instant, draw 2 cards with Jump Start. Thirst for Knowledge, 3-drop instant, draw 3, then discard 2 unless you discard an artifact card. And then we have a bunch of search spells, so I'm going to go through these real quick. A lot of them have Transmute. So Perplex is a 3-drop instant counter target spell unless its controller discards his or her hand with Transmute for 1 blue and a black, and Transmute says that you discard the card and then search your library for a card with the same converted mana cost, which in this case is 3. You reveal that card and put it into your hand, and you can only transmute as a sorcery. So we pay 3 mana to go get a 3-drop, which happens to be our win con. Its CMC is 3. Then we have Mystical Teachings. It's a 4-mana instant. Search your library for an instant card or a card with flash. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library with flashback for 5 and a black. And so that means that you can cast it from your graveyard, and then if it would be put back into the graveyard, you exile it. Or you just exile it, period. Never mind. You exile it as it resolves. So anyway, our win con is Ghostly Flicker. It's a 3-drop instant. So this grabs it, and then we have a couple other cards that we can grab, like Shared Summons, which goes and grabs the rest of our win con, and it happens to be an instant. So it's a 5-drop. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards with different names, reveal them, put them into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Then we have Neoform, which is nice because a lot of our guys are 3s and 4s, and that's what we need because we have to sacrifice to go get a 4 or a 5. And if we get a 6 drop down, we can go get Morphon, which is a 7 drop. So that's about how the Neoform works. So it's you pay a blue and a green. It's a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast it, you sacrifice a creature. You search your library for a creature with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it, and then shuffle your library. Now, if you have an 11-drop Eldrazi Titan, I believe that's Ulamog, or Pathrazor of Ulamog, or something like that. Reaper King's a 10 CMC card, so you get rid of Reaper King, which you only paid 5 mana for, and then you use the Neoform, and you get rid of the Reaper King, and you go grab Ulamog or something, and then you slap it on the battlefield. And if you have one of those, that's a great use for Neoform. I don't, so I didn't use it. Then we have Dimir Infiltrator. It's a 2-drop, 1/3, unblockable spirit with Transmute for 3, so that grabs us a 2-drop. Which is Neoform or something else that we want. Drift of Phantasms, 3-drop, Defender Flying 0/5 with Transmute for 3. Gets us that 3-drop. We have Diabolic Tutor, 4-drop, search for a card. You don't reveal it, but then you put it in your hand and shuffle. Dimir House Guard, 4-drop, 2/3, Fear, sack a creature, regenerate it. It's a skeleton, Transmute for 3, so that grabs us a 4-drop. Muddle the Mixture, 2-drop, counter target instant sorcery spell, transmutes for 3, so it's protection and it transmutes to go and get us a 2-drop. Then we have Ethereum Horn Sculptor. I count this as search because it's such a good card. It's a 6-mana artifact Minotaur Wizard 3/6. It has Cascade, so when you cast it, you exile cards from the top of your library until you exile an island card that costs less than it, which is most of our deck. And you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exile cards at the bottom of your library in a random order. And then it has pay 1, a blue, and a red, and return it to its owner's hand. So you can do it a lot. And it's only on cast, though, but it's still really good. Mastermind's Acquisition, 4-drop, search your library for a card and then put it into your hand and shuffle your library. Or you can search your library for a card that you own from outside the game. I don't know if you can see the fly. It's really bugging me. I get it, but I don't think I can. So anyway, you choose a card you own from outside the game, put it into your hand. You'd have to talk to your playgroup about that, because technically, Commander doesn't really have a sideboard. I guess you could get your companion, because that's technically outside the game, kind of. But, yeah, when it says outside the game, it's referencing your sideboard. So you'd have to talk to your playgroup about that. Then we have Fabricate, 3-drop, search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. Shred Memory, 2-drop instant, remove up to 4 target cards in a single graveyard from the game, transmute for 3, so that grabs us a 2-drop. And Brain Spoil, a 5-drop, destroy target creature that isn't enchanted, it can't be regenerated, transmute for 3, so that grabs us a 5-drop. Okay, that was a lot of search spells, but the 4-drop gets us Archaeomancer, the 5-drop gets us Peregrine Drake, or the 4-drop gets us the Changeling dude that champions a creature or one of our clones, and then the 5-drop gets us, I think we have a 5-mana clone, I'm not 100% sure. We got Body Double for sure, so you can grab that. I don't know, just grab something. Lumbering Battlement, it does the same thing. I'll rerun that. So then we have Thassa, Deep Dwelling, 4-drop, 6/5, legendary enchantment creature, god, indestructible. As long as your devotion to blue is less than 5, it's not a creature. I don't think that we run that much devotion. And then at the beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 other target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control, and you can pay 3 and a blue to tap another target creature. So we want it for the end of the turn, you exile something and bring it back, because then we get to blow something up, and that's always fun. Then we have the Mimic Vat. It's a 3-drop artifact. It has imprint. Whenever a non-token creature dies, you may exile that card. If you do, return each other card exiled with Mimic Vat to its owner's graveyard. Then it has pay 3, tap it, create a token that's a copy of a card exiled with Mimic Vat. It gains haste, exile it at the beginning of the next end step. I don't know if they planned it when they printed this card, because this card's beautiful, because it works really, really, really well with Mutate, because it gets rid of all the Mutate creatures. It exiles all of them, and then it does have the text to put them all back when you exile another card. And then you can choose any of the ones that that you would have gotten rid of from the Mutate stack. So I don't know if they planned that when they printed this, because it was printed before Mutate. But it's a really good card. We run it mainly so that we can get rid of a creature and then have it come back, and then we can blow something up every turn, which is really nice. Then we have Salvager of Secrets. It's a 5-drop Merfolk Wizard 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, return target instant sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. So that could be one of our search spells, or it can be Ghostly Flicker, which is our win con. Then we have Lumbering Battlement. It's a 5-drop 4/5 Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-token creatures you control until it leaves the battlefield, and it gets +2/+2 for each card exiled with it. So it basically has champion any number of creatures. And that's what we want. It's not a Scarecrow, though, but that's okay. Then we have Eldrazi Displacer. It's a 3-drop 3/3 Devoid. You can pay 2 and a colorless, exile another target creature, then return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. We run enough mana that generates colorless. We don't have a ton, but we have enough that we can actually get some use out of this. Eerie Interlude is like our substitute for Ghostly Flicker, and it gets around board wipes, and that's why we run it. Because it's technically Ghostly Flicker, but like ramped up a ton. But then it's not a flicker, it's a blink, and we don't want that. So it's got its ups and downs, but it does stop us from getting board wiped, and that's really nice. So it's 2 and a white, instant. Exile any number of target creatures you control, and then return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. And so that's really good, because if we have like 5 Scarecrows down and then Reaper King, we exile them all, and somebody's already board wiped, presumably at this point. So everything else dies. Our stuff's exiled currently. Then it all comes back. We get 5 triggers off of Reaper King, and we get to blow up like 5 lands. And that's amazing, because all the creatures are already dead. So we run that, and then it's an instant so you can get it back from the graveyard, because it doesn't exile itself. And then we have Ghostly Flicker, which is the win con that I've been talking about. It's a 3-mana instant, exile 2 target artifacts, creatures, and or lands you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under your control. So what you do is you get out... Where's my Peregrine Drake? Let me find it. There it is. Okay. So this is what you do. You got Ghostly Flicker, you got Peregrine Drake. I'll put it over here. And what you do is Peregrine Drake is a 5-drop 2/3 Flying Drake. It says when it enters the battlefield, untap up to 5 lands, and Ghostly Flicker only costs 3 mana. So you use Ghostly Flicker to exile the Peregrine Drake, and then another creature that can get the Ghostly Flicker back from the graveyard. And you've effectively paid 3 mana to make 5 mana. And then you do that a ton until you have infinite mana. And we're a 5-color deck, so we can generate mana of any color. So that's not really a big issue. And at some point, you end up with infinite mana of every color and infinite colorless mana too. And then you get to cast whatever you want, or you can just start flickering Scarecrows to blow everything up, and then you have time to actually kill people with damage. So that's what makes Reaper King so good in this deck, because then you just start flickering Scarecrows and blow up everybody's lands, and nobody's happy with you. But that's okay. So that's what that's there for. We have Flood of Tears as a 6-drop sorcery. Return all non-land permanents to their owner's hand. If you return 4 or more non-token permanents you control this way, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. Usually this is run with Omniscience. I didn't put that in here, but Omniscience is a 10-drop enchantment. It says you can cast spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. So if you want to put that in, that's a great thing to put in, but I didn't. This is mostly an emergency button. We can do it. Or if we get a card like Scholar of the Ages down, which can get us back stuff from our graveyard, we can do it every single turn once we hit 10 mana. And that is just enough to stall out the game so that we can draw our pieces and hopefully win from that. Scholar of the Ages is a 7-drop 3/3 human wizard. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 2 target instant and or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. So you get 2. Then we have Tidespout Tyrant. It's an 8-drop 5/5 flyer. Whenever you cast a spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand. This is another card that works wonderful with Omniscience, but we don't run Omniscience. So what you want to do is you want to get down, like, I don't know, maybe a Soul Ring. And then, I don't know, you'd have to get like a 0-drop or something, which I don't think that we run. But if you can get Soul Ring and like a 0-drop, which we don't have in the deck, then basically you can tap the Soul Ring for 2 mana, cast the 0-drop, return the Soul Ring to hand, use one of those mana to cast the Soul Ring, return the 0-drop to hand, tap the Soul Ring for 2 mana, you get infinite mana from that. And then you can do whatever you have to with the infinite mana. But it's just really nice to have because we can bounce people's lands, because once again, this is any permanent, or we can bounce our Scarecrows and then just destroy the lands, or anything else that we need to. So that's great. Archaeomancer, 4-drop 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, return target instant sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Mirror March, 6-drop enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, flip a coin until you lose a flip. For each flip you won, create a token that's a copy of that creature. These tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. It works with Reaper King. And what will happen with the Reaper King is you'll flip, and let's say you win 2 flips, so you make 2 copies. So the 2 will come down. The original Reaper King will see them enter, so you'll get to destroy 2 things, and then they'll see each other enter, so you'll get 2 more. And that means that you'll get 4 things in total. If you got 3, then they'll all 3 enter, you'll get 3, and then each one will see 2 other enter, so you're going to get 6 more, so you'll have 9 in total. And I think it scales that way for all of them. So you'll have, if you get 2 copies, you'll get 4. If you get 1 copy, you only get 1. But if you get 3, you'll get 9. If you get 4, you get 16. If you get 5, you get 25. And that continues. And you can choose the same one more than once. That's important to note, because you pick them all when they enter. And when the abilities trigger, you don't pick them as the resolve, so that you don't have to blow up your own stuff if you get this. And if you, but then you do have to sacrifice them because of the legendary rule. And then if you are already comboing off and you have the Mirror March down, this gives you Hasty Boys, so you can just swing in and win with it automatically. Then we have Mist Meadow Witch. It's a 2-drop 1/1. Pay 2 white and a blue. Exile target creature. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step, which is wonderful. Mnemonic Wall, 4 and a blue, 0/4 defender. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target instant sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. And now we have hit our lands. So let's go over them. We run 35 in total. 2 of them I already showed you because they ramp. So we have Dimir Gilgate, Path of Ancestry, which taps for any mana. And if we cast a Scarecrow with it, we get to scry. Golgari Gilgate, Nomad Outpost, Orzhov Gilgate, Seaside Citadel, Unclaimed Territory. When it enters the battlefield, we choose a creature type, tap and add colorless to your mana pool, or tap and add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type. We choose Scarecrow. Arcane Sanctum, Sandstep Citadel, Izzet Guildgate, Gateway Plaza, that's a gate, Esper Panorama, Cascading Cataracts, Bant Panorama, Boros Guildgate. I just threw my lands all over the place. That's not good. Exotic Orchard, Jungle Shrine, Savage Lands, Crumbling Necropolis, Gruul Guildgate, Grixis Panorama, Command Tower, Rakdos Guildgate. We run 2 swamps, 1 plains, 1 mountain, 2 forests, and then 4 islands, because our deck is overwhelmingly blue. If you'll notice, for the panoramas, I only included the ones that can sacrifice to go grab an island, because we need blue mana, and a lot of times we won't get it, so we have to fetch it. If you have shock lands, check lands, actually good dual lands, definitely put those in. And if you have the triomes, use those. The other ones aren't necessarily better, but upgrade the mana base as you see fit. You saw what I have. If you have something better, it will make the deck work better. Guaranteed. Okay, so keepable hands are, you need 4 mana minimum in your hand to keep. And you need to be able to cast your spells if you end up with ramp. So if you get a 1 mana hand and then 1 land and then 3 ramp spells, and one of them is not a Soul Ring, you are not keeping that hand. If you get a hand that does not have any blue mana in it, you probably can't keep that hand unless one of them is a Panorama, or it's like an Exotic Orchard that could tap for a blue. If you get a hand that only has mana of 1 color, even if it is blue, mulligan that hand. That should be obvious. You really need more than 3 colors. You can deal with a 4-color hand, because you can get the 5th color if you end up needing it. But you cannot deal with 2-color hands at all, and 3-color hands are difficult. You need 4 mana minimum. I think I already said that. If you don't have one of your win cons or a way to search it out in your hand, you will probably lose. But like I said, we got a couple ways to win the game. So that's not a huge issue. And let me think, is there anything else? If you only get your high-costed spells, you want to mulligan that hand. That's basic mulligan knowledge there. A good hand will probably just be able to get you up and going pretty quickly, and you don't want... I know that we run a ton of tapped lands, but that's only to meet the mana requirements that we actually need for the deck. You don't want to keep a hand that's all tapped lands. We run enough untapped lands that you want a couple of those, and then you can play your tapped lands in a strategic manner to lose the least amount of mana possible, because those are not going to tap for mana on your first turn. So say on your 4th turn, you only want to cast a 3-mana spell. Okay, you save a tapped land, play it on that turn, instead of playing it on turn 2 when you could cast a Signet or something. So I think that you get how that part works at least. So potential upgrades. Instead of running a blank strategy, run a graveyard strategy. Graveyard strategies are arguably less expensive and more reliable than a blank strategy. But at the same time, if you run in a group that has a lot of graveyard hate, don't run that. And so that's one way that you can do it. You could run with tokens and run Arcane Adaptation, Conspiracy, and Xenograph to change all your creatures into scarecrows. And then when they enter, because they're tokens and they're Scarecrow, Reaper King will trigger, and then you can blow stuff up using that method. Some cards that are great for that would be Assemble the Legion, Zothrid Necromancer, and you'd have to get down 2 of them if you're going to use Zothrid Necromancer. So Zothrid Necromancer says whenever it or another human you control dies, you create a 2/2 black zombie. So if you can make the zombies into humans and then also make them into scarecrows, then when one enters, Reaper King is going to blow it up, and then you'll have another one enter because you had a human die, and then Reaper King's going to blow that one up, and then all that you need is something that triggers whenever something enters the battlefield or dies in order to go infinite with that one, or a Sacrifice Outlet, and if you have a Sacrifice Outlet, you can actually blow up everybody else's permanents, and you don't have to worry about it. And then you can also get like infinite if you can get a copy of the Zothrid Necromancer down, because you'll lose 1 and get 2 every time. And that could be really powerful, because then you'll have infinite of them, but they are tapped. Be careful of that. So that's one way that you can run it. Another way, and Assemble the Legion, I think I mentioned that, I'm not 100% sure. It makes a ton of tokens, and they have haste. And so if you can turn them into scarecrows, nobody's going to be able to survive it once you get past turn 3, because all their lands are going to be dead. Because you get 1 on turn 1, 2 on turn 2, 3 on turn 3, etc. I'll put in the deck list in the description if you want to see it. If you have any questions, ask me. And I think that's about it. One other thing, if you're going tokens, play Reese. 6, tap it. For each creature token you control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. That's about all that you need to know for this deck. So, good luck if you plan to play it. It's really fun, though. See you guys next time.